We don't need no stinking guests. The hell do we need a guest for?
So far, everyone has arrived exactly at 10 o'clock.
Nobody has missed their appointment. Somebody will, and then we're going to have to be quick.
We'll just pretend like it never happened. Right?
Can we do that?
Well, I mean, we can do a show at any moment.
We can. We are showmen. It's true. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. All right, here we go. Please subscribe to the channel. Please.
Hey guys, YouTube's got an algorithm and it really help us out a lot if you could like, comment, and subscribe. This is how we can get more information out to more people and share the message of Toronto real estate. Thanks.
In that order. Like, comment, subscribe, and hit the damn bell.
Show-offs.
Show-offs. Do you like our new background? The double layer going on here? Or
New
no?
background?
Oh, you can't see it.
No.
But that's okay.
I have the same virtual background that we always have.
You're lucky you're in the club. See, Mike won't be in the club.
The layout looks okay for the recording?
It's a little off-center, the logo, but
the
other than
logo's
that...
off-centered.
I see Mike Jones, but I don't hear him. Well, I see letters that represent his name.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
We have audio.
All right. There we go.
Look at him. Look at him. Look at that backdrop.
You like that?
Those are expensive chairs back there.
Room?
Hey?
What's going on?
That's
another Sunday morning.
It's perfect for lighting.
I like your background. How do I get a background like that?
Do you want one?
We were just talking about how we were.
We can give you one.
Out.
It's going to cost you.
One?
Well, we can send them one.
$5. That's okay.
We can send
the
you
odd
one.
Duck out here. It's okay.
That's okay. We're in the studio. That's why.
Unfortunately,
you're coming live from on site. We're
due to
here.
Unforeseen circumstances that some call a pandemic. Mike is joining us from his own studio today.
So I put a lot of money into getting the studio ready.
That's right.
Yeah, I bet.
The production value is through the roof today. This is great. Mike Jones, welcome back to the show. Thanks for coming.
You.
You are our first repeat guester.
Oh my God.
You will go down in the annals of the Toronto Real Estate Show time capsule.
Oh, good to hear. I'm
Lucky
glad.
you.
Yeah. I think, and we did it in June, and a lot's changed even since then, right? So was it June, July?
It's a different planet since you were on the show last time. That's for damn sure.
Oh, yeah.
Things were a little...
We were kind of in the refinance. Like, we were wondering if people were refinancing their homes to get themselves out of trouble, right? And now it's like they're refinancing their homes to buy themselves a boat, right?
Well, when rates are under 2%, right? Why not?
Yeah.
So that's the thing, right? Is I feel like with rates where they are, there's so many different things that people want to do with their money. From, hey, I can borrow the money at 2 and reinvest it and make a higher rate. I can borrow the money and I can pay off my debts. I can borrow my money and pay off my mortgage at 3.5 and get 2. I can borrow it and renovate because it's cheap. Like there's so many reasons why people would want to refinance right now. It's, debt consolidations, it goes on and on. So
where are we with rates right now? Because I'm reading a lot of stuff talking about rates are going to be on their way up again if they're not already starting to creep up. Not so much the central bank rate, but the loan rates.
The fixed. Yeah. So there was a point in time, probably the last month, where we were just about, so there's 2 different types of rates, right? We have insured, which means somebody's buying and they have less than 20% down. And then we have insurable or uninsurable, which is 2 different but similar. So insured rate up until Friday was 1.59, 1.54, 1.64, bouncing between that depending on the lender. Now they're about 184, 194. So we went up about 20 25 basis points, depending on the banks. Um, the uninsurable rate, about 1.94, 2.04 right now from 1.84. So, I mean, it's a good thing when rates go up and people go, oh my God, now 2% looks high, right? Like
Yeah,
it's,
stupid.
when it was on its way down and we hit 2%, we were jumping for joy, right? And then when it's
But
going back up a little bit, we hit that 2% mark again. People are going, oh my
sell
God,
everything.
it's
The
yeah.
world's coming
So,
to an end. I can't believe it.
so
So, but how
it's
many people actually have to qualify for the what's the test called?
the stress test. So
Yeah,
Everybody.
every single mortgage we do,
every
right?
single
So
mortgage is based on being able to go 2 points higher.
More.
4.74, even
More.
higher than that, almost 2 points. So 4.74 today. So one thing that I say, which is funny with all the activity, all the real estate activity, and houses going for way over, and the market going up, is everybody qualifies today for the same amount they did a year ago. That hasn't changed, right? Like, so now the overall payment on the property, that's changed, but everybody qualifies for the same amount they did a year ago
Mm,
because they're
good
qualifying on the
point.
stress test. So, here's what you qualify at, and here's what the rates are. They're relevant. So that's one thing that, regardless of the rates, that hasn't changed. So a common question I get is, how come all of a sudden the market's going like this? And what's enabled it? And
Yeah.
So
Human
hold
behavior.
on a sec. You said 4.75. What did that represent? Is that what
that's the
you have to
posted rate.
qualify
That's the
for?
that's the bank's posted rate, right? So the banks have this thing called the posted rate, which if you bank there, we'll give you our special discounted rate that everyone else in the world gets, but we're going to put this posted rate of 4.75 on there, or 4.74. So when
Hmm.
you come in as a customer, we're going to say, Darryl, listen, okay, we give everyone else 4.74, but you're special. We're going to give you 1.94, right?
Yeah.
And so the posted rate is what they use. The only reason, I mean, I shouldn't say the only reason, but they pull that rate back out when you go to pay your mortgage off, right? So then they go, oh, Darryl, you have 2 years left. We could have lent you this money at 4.74, but we didn't. We gave it to you at this low rate. Now you're paying it off, and we can only lend it out at 2% now. So you got to pay the difference. And that's where the interest rate differential comes from. So that's when you hear people having
Tactics.
huge penalties, right? So
Yeah.
they
These
mention
bank
it on the,
tactics.
exactly. They mention on the way in, like, hey, you're getting this special rate. You're not going to get the posted rate. But when you're on your way out, they throw that back at you and say, oh, by the way, this is why your penalty is going to be 20 grand to pay off a $300,000 mortgage 2 years early.
So
So
I want to go over something because this is on my mind and I'll forget about it. So there's all sorts of like little gimmicks and stuff like that that every industry has. Okay. And what the mortgage brokerage industry is they advertise these really low rates on the radio and the TV. Okay.
yeah,
And it's always, I always hear it, I'm like, talk to Mike Jones, he's going to get you the best rates. He's going to get you, the best service and deal with you and everything else. And you're going to be really happy in the end. And they say, well, I heard on the radio that I'm going to get 1.3 and all this other nonsense. And every time I tell them the same thing, you will not get that rate. That's just there to get you to call, and the customer service is going to be low. And in the end, you probably pay more, and you're going to feel like you got,
yeah.
taken advantage of. So explain to people why mortgage companies can even post that low rate and how many hoops you have to jump through to even get it.
Well, so it's I guess the easiest thing to say is it's not necessarily that you can't get that rate, but if you're there's certain things that, to me, should be important to you if you're getting a mortgage, right? So prepayment privilege, ability to increase your payments, mortgage being portable, mortgage being assumable, the lender. Like, as a broker, we have 30 different lenders. Not all lenders are the same as far as service and everything else goes, right? So um, you know to get lower rates, sometimes what they do is they cut these things off. It's not portable, it's not assumable, or hey, we're going to reduce how much you can pay the mortgage off, or you're not going to let you increase your penalties, because by taking these things away, if I'm getting a mortgage at a bank and the bank pretty much knows that I'm not going to be making lump sums and paying this down, they know they're collecting every cent of interest from me, right? So there's ways that they can cut it off by cutting those things out. And that's a lot of the time what happens. And then the rate ends up at, say, 1.4, right? And the client's happy until 3 years down the road, when their house isn't big enough and they want to move and they find out they can't port the mortgage, right?
But
I'm
that
not saying
penalty,
all mortgages at 1.3 or 4 or whatever can't be ported, but a lot of times that's what I see is they take them away and they're called no frill mortgages, right? So they take all these things away. Here you go, here's your rate. And a lot of people, my phone rings once or twice a day just with, anonymous, hello, this is Mike speaking. How can I help you? Hi, what's your rate? And
yeah.
unfortunately, it's so much more than, oh, hi, it's 1.4. Thanks. See you later. It's, are you a first time home buyer? Like, sorry, you have more or less than 20% down? How much are you buying for? What
Yeah.
kind of term do you want? What's your income level? How's your credit? Like, there's so many things. It's not just like, you know, oh, here's the rate. But those types of products, which are very common, I get phone calls on them all the time. And maybe they're for some people. Maybe some people know 100% I'm going to move into this property. I'm going to live here for 5 years and I'll figure it out in 5 years. I'm not going to do anything. And that's fine. It's just, in this field, and I'm sure TK, you see it all the time. You have to account for the unexpected, right? Like people pass away, people get divorced, people get moved from work, all these other things happen.
And those
And
and those penalties, what we're talking about here, because you said about the posted rate, we're not talking about $500, $2,000. You could be $25,000 in
oh,
order to break
yeah,
that mortgage.
for
And so
sure.
you saved 20 basis points and you think you're a hero because you
Yeah.
bragged to all your friends at the dinner parties that you got this great deal on a mortgage, and you're paying 20 grand on the back end when
On
you
the
have to
back
make a
end.
change.
And like, I mean, there's tons of products and they lock you in, right? Like you
And
can't
would they
leave us as a
explain that to
lender.
people? Do you
Yeah,
think
oh
that
yeah, they should. Well, I hope they do. But
Do
like
you
there's
think there
ones
are
where like,
nefarious people in the world, in all businesses, who may not explain the entire complexity of a contract to the client? Right? I mean, it
yeah,
exists. I'm not
yeah.
saying mortgage people are in particular, but there's always going to be somebody who is just
I 100.
overworked, too much volume. They're advertising on the radio or TV. They're just contract, and they are not explaining everything to people. So in the end, they go,
Yeah.
well, it was on the contract. You should have read it, or you should have read this, and we
Yeah.
explained this, and you go, what? I never heard about that, and now I got to pay
Oh,
20.
for sure.
But
And why did I go with those guys? And that's people
do
have to be very careful.
do people actually like do lenders negotiate? I mean, most of their contracts are set pretty much in stone. Maybe they're flexible on a couple of things, but the lenders generally have contracts that are heavily,
Yeah, they're
heavily, heavily in their favor, right?
I mean, they have
You
a
find a
team
lender
of
with the terms you want,
lawyers
right?
that have, written these things up. But I mean, there's no, I mean, speaking on the broker side, because it's a common question I get from clients, like, can you go back to them and tell them I want better if I'm going to go with them? And it's like they're offering their best rates right up front, right? And that's what, as when I'm dealing with it, like I send TK mortgage in for approval. There's no room for like, hey, he's a good buddy of mine. Can you please just do a little bit better,
I
right?
tried.
Like it's
It
the
didn't work.
rates are I tried,
I said, please give me
but
the
but
best.
exactly. But
But you
it's
go to
it's
different
it.
lenders though. You say so and so is
You can
offering
shop it
this,
around and
so and so is
yeah,
offering this. Which one do you want? They're this, and you'll explain it to me and say they're the same. You've got the same prepayment. You're
yeah.
getting that 10 basis points here. Is that what you want to do? And then you explain the pros and cons of going with one over the other. And that's what that's what it takes. That people undervalue that side of the mortgage broker service, right?
Well,
Well,
and
so what can you actually do for the client as a broker in the middle there? When
So
the
I mean, I go to I know say I'm working with TK and his want is rate. That's it. Then I'm gonna go and I'm gonna find the best rate I can. Which lender is the best rate? Combined with again, I don't like the no frill stuff, so I'm not gonna do it with like, oh, by the way, I'm gonna cut off your prepayment privileges and it's not gonna be portable, but you're gonna get the best rate. But some want, their goal is, hey, you know what? I want a line of credit to open up as I pay my mortgage down. Well, that
Mhm.
eliminates 19 lenders I deal with. So now I can deal with this little block and let's see who's got the best rate there. So you just kind of listen. And also, I mean, when it comes to self-employed, so all banks treat self-employment differently. That's one area where I say, you can have a client who's self-employed and they go to their bank and the bank says, absolutely not. And then I might send that to another bank that looks and goes, this is great. Look at his gross
Mhm.
income. He wrote these things off. We can add in, he wrote off a vehicle. We can add that back to. So let's pretend you gross $100,000 for your business. Then you start writing stuff down. Okay, here's 10 grand on my vehicle I spent. Now I'm at 90. The capital cost allowance, 5 grand. Working from home expense, 10 grand. So I'm at 75 now, right?
Yeah.
So you go to all your banks and you go, hey, I need to get a mortgage for 500,000. They say you made 75, you don't qualify. Well, some banks, I can take your tax return, I can look at these expenses you wrote off, and I can add those back to your bottom line. And now you're back at 100, right? So here you go. Now you got 100,000 a year in income, and you do qualify for a $500,000 mortgage. Here you go, right? But not all banks
Here's
do
Darryl.
that.
Daryl, this is because I think your question is kind of like, what does a broker do? And this is, I'm not going to hype up Mike here. This is like in general, what a good mortgage broker should do. They should be
Should
able
do.
to have enough experience with so many different lenders that when they look at someone, they say, you know, here's the areas that you need to improve on because there's a product out there that's going to be like suited for you so that you can get a mortgage sooner and get into the market sooner and then get the best rate. You don't have to go to a B lender and then work with you along those lines. And that's something that I find value in is when you're dealing with a mortgage broker to come to them and say, hey, what is it that I need to do to make sure that I get the best mortgage product out there for me based on my particular situation? And there's a lot of experience in that because if you're working at the bank and you're an employee of the bank, you got like what, 3 types of mortgages that they offer, and you're like A, B, or C. You know, you don't qualify for any. You know, come back next year. Where a mortgage broker would say, I've got, I don't know how many products you'd have choose from, Mike, but lots. And then they'd say, well,
Lots.
this is what we got to do.
And think about this side of it too. Okay, so the market's extremely competitive, right? TK finds a buyer home. Generally, the chances of putting a condition in there are next to nothing. So many buyers, when they're putting that offer in, they want to make that final phone call. Like, okay, I'm just going to call my mortgage guy, just make sure I'm going to put this offer in, everything's going to be okay. So it's Saturday night, you're putting the offer in, okay? You're dealing with the bank branch. What do? You know, when you're there getting your mortgage approval, go ask the bank manager for his personal cell phone number and ask if you can call him at 8 o'clock on a Saturday night and see if he'll pick up or she'll pick up, right? I doubt it, right? Or even just maybe ask the person you're dealing with inside the bank, hey, can I have your personal cell number? I'm going to give you a call when I'm putting the offer in on Saturday. It won't happen. So, you know, as far as shopping products and all these things, you know, we have 35 banks worth of products. The bank has one. As far as giving service and advice at a time right now where, you know, it is so competitive, you don't have time to, you know, okay, oh my God, I'm going to go $50,000 more than what I was hoping to do. I still qualify for that, but what's that going to cost me per month, right? You need to make a phone call. So as a broker right now, I'm getting tons of phone calls because, you know, all these people have pre-approved are putting offers in. They're not winning them all, but they're putting offers in. But, you know, I'm picking up, I'm giving reassurance. I'm letting them know, okay, if you go in here, here's what the payment's going to be, that type of thing. And if you're dealing with your bank branch, won't happen.
So hold on a
Period.
sec.
I don't.
So because of the way things are right now out in the market, which is crazy, right? We've talked about it a bunch of times that we have multiple offers on everything. Is that still true, TK, from last week? Can you quantify this statement for us live?
Let's go live to the studio.
Breaking
We're
news?
starting to see changes. I mean, prices are still at the same point they were last week, but we've started, like, there's so many more listings this week. I was out with buyers this weekend. There was a ton more options. There was way more. So there's less multiple offers out there now. I was even in a property yesterday where there was no multiple offers and it was just offers anytime because they'd already tried that strategy. They raised the price and said, here you go. This is the price we want. So definitely changes compared to a couple weeks ago. So that's in the GTA. I'm not seeing that in the other smaller markets, the secondary markets, the Barries, the Peterboroughs, the Hamiltons. I'm hearing whispers that there's still the 10 to 20 offers going on over there.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah.
So Mike, you're constantly getting phone calls from potential clients saying, "Hey, like I know you pre-qualified me at this number, but I really like this house, Mike. I'm gonna need a little bit more. Is it gonna work?"
The call is usually, I'm going to go in without conditions, and is that okay? Right. That's usually the phone call. And as a broker,
I'm going in firm. How quickly can you get me the
You need
money?
to back me up on this one.
How
and
quickly
that's
can you get
fine.
me this loan?
Yeah.
I'm closing in
and
8
the thing
days.
is, as a broker, it's hard for me because, first off, I've never been to the house, right? So let's say I say, oh God, you're fine, go ahead, fire away. And then I find out, like, you know, the house has a leak in the foundation and there's 2 feet of water in the basement. Like, oh, I didn't know that. Like,
We can
so
cover
I
that
was-
up, can't we? We
Yeah, no
got
problem.
money
Just
on
get
the
the
line.
pump hose,
Everybody's
get her
got
out.
money on the line here.
You know what? We'll just call it a pool in the listing. So
Indoor
but
pool.
it'll indoor pool. But so I can never guarantee especially when with appraisals. I mean, we need appraisal on every deal, and so sometimes people say, well, I bought a house 2 years ago. They didn't do an appraisal. Well, there's two types, right? They do an auto appraisal, which means they kind of do their work on their end and they say, yeah, he bought for a reasonable price. We're not going to ask him for anything. Or average sale price is between 7 and 800 on this street. You bought for 9. Let's get a full blown appraisal, right? So we never know what they're going to appraise at, first off. And honestly, so far I've been lucky. I haven't seen any come in low. But that worry is always there.
That can change.
Until you have a final approval with the bank with that address on
Hold
it.
on, let me clarify. You've never seen an appraisal come back that you thought was low or that the potential buyers thought was low?
No. I'm saying during this last 6 to 8 months of chaos, I personally haven't had anyone purchase a property and have an appraisal come in low.
But we like higher appraisals, right?
We want it to come in at least the purchase price. Otherwise,
At least the purchase price, sure.
at least the purchase price.
So how often does it come in under the purchase price and how often over?
I personally, I've been very fortunate. I haven't seen any. So I know they're out there. I've heard of them. I'm sure TK has. But for me personally, I haven't.
200K?
Under?
That was a while back. Yeah, you're right. In the last 6 to 8 months, because they're not going inside the houses. So I only had one. I did an exclusive deal. It was like a builder site. So like it was not finished and they wanted to come and look. It was still under construction. The guy came in. It was no big deal. But there's not a single other property that I've sold or that I know of that had a appraiser go inside the property. They just walk outside and ask us for more pictures if they don't have enough info.
COVID rules. They're not allowed. They're not allowed in properties. I don't believe still.
So
the bank can't force them.
Yeah.
Right? The bank can't force him to go. So this guy came in. I guess he was willing, but the bank probably can't tell the appraiser, you need to go inside or else we're not paying you. There's probably like some, I don't know.
Well, they can take them off the list of they can take them off the list of appraisers that they'll consider an appraisal from.
I'd be the guy say,
oh no, sorry, yeah, that guy, he's not on the list anymore. He wouldn't go inside.
20 appraisals a day.
Yeah.
Well, let's kind of change directions then. I mean, like we're looking at the market. I mean, we're always talking about the numbers and stuff, and Mike obviously has good insight to that.
Are there people just lining up to lend people money right now? Like, is it just like, hey, Mike, get me into something? A lot of people doing second mortgages. Yeah, everything. I mean, anybody can go to a bank.
Yeah. Well, I mean, as far as like, are you saying lenders calling me to lend their money out?
Are people looking to lend against real estate? Like, is there a frenzy? It seems like on the buying end, it's pretty crazy.
To be honest, that's never changed. That's a phone call that I receive a couple times a week from random people. Hi, I got some money in the bank. I'd like to lend out. That's normal. That's
random people. Just give them my number.
Yeah. Well, you know what it is. They'll see on my personal website shows, I do like private and banks and everything like that. So that's probably why they call. But
so how's the
values the?
Yes, sorry. Well, I was gonna say, is there a big appetite for second mortgages right now?
They're always, if you want to get money out there, you can, no problem, right? Because there's a lot of people who don't fit that box to get into a lender right now because maybe their employment's changed due to COVID or, whatever the reason is, or maybe their employment changed due to COVID 8 months ago and then they fell behind on a couple credit cards, score dropped a little bit, and now they got to build it back up, right? So, there's always an appetite to get second mortgages out. I mean, as a broker, if somebody comes to me for a mortgage, my goal is to always put them through a bank before I just throw them into something private. Or at least you want to look into, okay, sorry, we got to go private, but we got to do
exit strategy?
This. And how are we going to get out of here? Because sitting at, what's a private mortgage for private second mortgage? If I told you I'm going to get you 9%, you'd probably be happy, right? So, it's not what I want to put you in, most certainly. So, but it depends on the situation, everyone's situation. There's some people, for example, I did one on Wednesday or Thursday this week. He's building, right? And I said, okay, I'm thinking, okay, you want to go private? And he knew, he called me. I want a private mortgage. I'm going to build. I'm like, okay, why do you want private? Because it's just going to be a lot easier than dealing with a bank. I said, yeah, you're right. And it's short term. You're looking at 6 months in and out. Rates are relevant over short term. If I told you I'm going to give you 7% over the next 5 years, not so much. But if I told you I'm going to give you 7 over the next 6 months, as opposed to 4 at a bank for a construction loan, because it's not like the banks are lending out construction loans at 1 point whatever. So,
but that doesn't end up being the rate after the broker fee and the lending fee and legal fee
and the broker fee at the lawyer office. Okay, no, I'm just joking.
Yeah, there's a lot of fees before you actually get the money.
Yeah.
There is 100%.
So what are the real rates? So for example, if I'm taking out a second mortgage against my house so that I can buy something else, make an
Yeah.
investment, what am I actually
Yeah.
paying on this loan?
Well, you know what? There's lots that'll go into it. I'd say a range on a second. I mean, you go anywhere from 7 to 12. To be honest, it's going to come down to how's your credit. You know, how much provable income do you have? What's the loan to value? Like, is your house worth a
Mm-hmm.
million and we're lending you up to 400, or is your house worth a million and you're looking for 850? Right? Are we at 85? Are we at 50%? These are the things that determine the risk level, I guess, for the lender, and the risk level really is going to be what determines the rate. So,
Yeah, big time.
um,
One of the
Sorry.
big concerns though right now is that people are borrowing too much money, that there's going to be a wave of people who are financially strapped, the economy's hurting. We've got people who are out of jobs, who's still facing lockdowns. Like there's just so much stuff like that. There's a lot of chatter about that, and I think
Yeah.
I'm not seeing the really hurt people out there, because a lot of them are probably going to the banks and refinancing to get themselves out of trouble, to help their businesses and stuff like that too. So what do you see?
You know what though? What I see is that the banks are looking at income tighter than ever, and they're going, okay, well, you said he makes 50 grand a year. As of December 2020, he made 47 last year.
Mm-hmm.
What happened? Oh, he was off for 2 weeks. Oh, so he was affected by COVID, was he? Good to know. We'll write that down, right? So, I mean, the banks are looking at this stuff because they want to know. We don't know if there's going to be a third wave or we're shut down. But I mean, whoever was shut down in the first wave probably got shut down in the second wave, and would in the
Could be
third,
shut down
right?
again,
So,
yeah.
the banks aren't necessarily, wanting to help people who are currently affected. You guys hear my dog growling here? He's never made a noise. A little puppy.
No, it's okay.
Looking out the window. I apologize. Um,
Smart
so,
guy.
but the banks aren't looking to necessarily just shoot money away to people if they know that they're having issues, right? So, and that's where when you say, what do we do? Private will go, okay, let's do this
Mm-hmm.
until everything's back to normal, and then we'll get out of it. So
There's a few people selling, like I'm seeing it. I think the main thing is that the prices have gone up so much that people have options, right? So
yeah,
like we said, the private money maybe is a little bit cheaper because they got a ton of equity, and if they don't qualify for the banks, then they can go and get some money to keep their businesses going. The government's had the stimulus available to people as best they can to try to help out businesses that are suffering. And then if
Yeah.
someone does need to sell, I mean, they're going to get a ton of money for their house, right? And maybe their options are limited, but they're going to go out and buy something else, or sell a rental property or something like that too. We haven't seen the huge economic effects of the pandemic yet. That's the truth, right? And everyone buying right
No.
now all over North America and probably the world, everyone buying real estate right now is proof of that.
Oh, for sure. And I mean, when this thing first started, right? Like, so last March or April, and it's like, if we had the same meeting and we were forecasting right when the first lockdown started in March, and we were forecasting, would your forecast have been that prices would go to where they've gone, and that rates would go? I guess you can make an argument for rates, right? Because I mean, they dropped the rates to kind of keep things strong. But I personally, maybe I'm crazy, but I mean, what percentage of houses gone up in the last year now? Almost right a year in March,
Detached 30%.
right?
I didn't hear anybody saying it was going to do that. I didn't hear one
I didn't hear
guy
that,
on YouTube
right?
saying.
CMHC is now saying that Toronto real
it.
estate is going to be soaring.
I love it.
When this thing was going on, they're talking like 18% was a good case scenario, right? Dropping 18% was a good case scenario. Now it's a soaring Toronto housing market.
Yeah,
they're off too. Like that's a poorly timed article. Like they literally have announced that at the time where things are actually starting to settle down a little bit more in Toronto, right?
Well,
like CMHC just doesn't have a good sense of anything.
No, but they're like risk management. Like,
so
that's what they do.
Why are they releasing that article? What are they trying to do?
They're just trying to slow it down and stall it. Because I mean, listen, what tools do they have? They've already promised rates are going to stay low for another 2 years. They're basically at zero. I mean, what are they going to put it at? 0.0125 next?
Yeah,
Hope
they're
so.
giving away money to try to boost up the rental supply. Like they're trying to do as much as possible to
The
create
the
housing.
the guy from the Bank of Canada made it pretty
Tip
clear. Tiff McCallum or whatever his name is,
Macklem, yeah.
Macklem. He made it really friggin' clear that like we're gonna keep our foot off the brake for a while longer and just kind of see what the new relationship between unemployment and money and spending is. Because we noticed that, when people are unemployed, they still spend money when we give them free money every month. It's so
Yeah.
weird.
Mm.
So the
House
markets are going to
essentially.
be flush with money. They've made it very clear that they'll do whatever it takes in order to keep this housing market going because it's the only market that's going right now. Like they came
And
flat out and said that.
It's keeping the
household, I
economy
mean,
going, right? Like think about it, all the money that's out there and people have access to, and I don't know what percentage of GDP housing and the real estate sector is, but it's grown. It's whatever number it was before. It's a lot higher now, right? And that's what people are,
Yeah,
grateful for. And also people involved.
residential purchases as a percentage of like GDP growth is through the roof, like 3% higher than the U.S. at its peak before the Great Recession, which I think was the one right before this one, which is
I love it.
technically not a recession unless you were a
yeah.
waiter.
Well, yeah, it's wild to see everything that's kind of going on, but a
It's
lot of families are saving a lot of money, and they have extra money, and they're looking at stuff now, and they, you know what, like how many times, say my family would go on vacation once a year or something like that, and to go away, family of four, somewhere sunny for a week, all inclusive resort, you're looking at 6 to 8 grand. Save that. Sports. How many people spend 4 or 5 grand a year just to put their kid through a year of hockey or baseball or what? Really that money hasn't been. But there's so many people saving money, and I know that things I've seen is that household savings has increased greatly because
Yeah.
you can't bring your kids to a movie, you can't go to a movie. There's no going out for dinner really, and like there's all these things where you'd spend money. The only I'm sure Amazon spending's gone up, right? Like, but everyone's just buy it off Amazon, buy it off Amazon. But other than that, like, what's there to spend money on? You can't go anywhere, you can't do anything, right? So that creates people
Real
have more
estate.
savings, and hey, why don't we save up and buy a rental property and whatever, right? And it's
So
or
how many
home
more people are buying
improvements.
rentals? Like how
Yeah.
many more percentage of business 2 years ago compared to today on rental properties?
Um, that's a good question. It depends. There's also a basket of deals where, there's something called a family plan. So like I can buy a house, for my son to live in and put 5% down, minimum. And as long as it's being occupied by a family member, that type of thing. But
Mhm.
I don't know. It's hard to put. I've never thought of a percentage of deals that I do are rentals, but 20 maybe.
You
I'm
think it's
just
gone
throwing a
up?
random number out there, like one
Do you
in
think it's
five.
gone up? More people are buying
Um,
rentals. They're calling you and saying, "Hey, Mike, I'm ready to
no,
buy a
it's
rental."
probably harder
no.
to
I think
qualify.
I think it's relatively the same, to be honest with you.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's relatively the same. It hasn't changed too much.
Last time you were on our show, we asked you about percentage of refis versus purchases. I don't remember what
Yeah.
your answer was, but how do you
Right
feel today?
now,
Yeah.
right now,
Yeah.
70-30, 75-25 refi to purchase.
Refis,
And
right? Yeah.
yeah, and what it is for myself is I have a ton of people pre-approved, right? It'll be a great year if they all find houses, but I'm getting phone calls. I think Wednesday night, 2 different real estate agents calling me, same property, 2 different clients. Hey, we're going in at this and this, okay, and then another one. Hey, same property going in.
Well, you could make some money on that deal.
Yeah, no, I never.
Hey,
And so,
go to this. You'll win.
but no,
Give me
neither of them won
$5,000.
because there was like 32 offers. So it doesn't, But I
Join
guess,
forces.
yeah. But that's the problem.
So hold
is,
on a sec. Did one of your buyers win?
Neither of them. No, neither of them. And it's
Oh!
par for the course because that's what's happening a lot this
Boo.
year, right? Is I have clients putting. So right now, I find what we're doing is we're doing a lot of work. We're doing pre-approvals. We're doing all these things. It's great. Here you go. You're pre-approved, but now
No
we got to
house.
find a house, right?
And then the cost of the house goes up while they're trying to find a house.
Exactly. So And I'm sure TK said, I mean, I just think when you said the cost of the house goes up in there, I've had people, I can't think of anyone off my head, but over the years, like 3 years ago, I'm not going to buy a house right now. The market's crazy. I'm going to wait for it. And it's gone up 35%, 40%, so I'm sure
I
TK's
had someone tell me the other day about a particular buyer that I took out 10 years ago, and they wanted to buy for $300,000, and they told me the market's going to crash. We're going to rent, and I'm the smart guy. $300,000 in the 416 area, and they moved into a rental. And I asked about them the other, maybe it was like 6 months ago. He says, yeah, they're still renting, waiting for the market to crash.
Okay,
Imagine that. $1 million house today that they could have bought and paid the exact same that they were paying rental, and they had great jobs, they had the down payment, they had credit, everything was in line.
But are we getting close to a bubble bursting here? Is it like it's definitely inflating, right? Can we all agree that there is signs of a excessive exuberance forming in the market?
Yes, 30% increases yearly is exactly that.
Is sustainable? Is it sustainable in the new normal, which we might be in?
Let's look at rates. I'm gonna pull my trusty calculator out here, and let's look at what the difference is and what that's done to currently hoist kind of things up. Sorry, I'm logging into another system.
The stress test does protect us from the rise of interest rates being the catalyst for a crash.
That's what I was thinking before the show, that it's a great foreshadowing, making people qualify for a few points higher than they're under, especially if you're going to keep it ridiculously manipulatively low for a long time, and then you plan to put the brakes on and see what happens.
Your mindset changes, right? Like, oh, this is just borrowing money. Oh, no big deal. $600,000 mortgages, $1 million mortgage. There's over $1 million mortgages out there.
No, but what they'll bring it up a quarter point every quarter for 2 years or something till they get back up to 3-4%, and
when your renewal comes, and hopefully now you've paid off your principal enough, so then when that comes up, you can just re-amortize it. So just go back up to 25 years, and then you'll be able to keep your payment the same.
Forget 25 years. There's 30 and 35 now.
Okay,
come on.
Right?
But listen, this is what they're doing. They're making this a more fluid, a more market-like market. You can only buy 5 Bitcoins for the price of a house in a lot of places, right? But they're making it easier to transact and to trade houses now in a digital world, right?
So $700,000 mortgage right now, based off rates. I just use 1.89, which is just a rate, right? Just random.
Hold on, $700,000 mortgage. How much is this house?
Well, it doesn't matter. 1.429, whatever, right? I'm just assuming 20% down, right? So
20% down.
But let's just say, just to compare numbers and show you what. So 700,000 at 1.89. I wish we did this last week, and it would have been at 1.69, and the numbers would have been greater. But let's just say, you get 700,000 right now. It's $2,927. Okay, that's just a mortgage. 25 years, by the way. Okay?
How much?
I'm not. Sorry.
How much, and how much is the mortgage, and what's the payment?
So 700,000, 1.89, 25 years, $2,927 a month. Okay.
Yeah.
700,000 last year, rates were 2.89 at this point. 32.73. So we're looking at $350 difference. So increase 10% cheaper for, I guess you'd say, right? Take 10% off the 3,200, that's 327, and you're basically there. So,
but if you have a $600,000 mortgage and rates go up 2%, you're paying an extra $12,000 a year in interest.
Yeah. Oh yeah. See that?
Right. That's a lot of money.
Payment doesn't.
But what the hell's the house that you're getting? What are you getting? A $900,000 house here?
I'm just running any numbers, right?
But what do you get for $900,000 now?
Well,
$900,000 house in Durham or something like that. You can get something decent, condos or whatever.
There's stuff out there. But I mean, that's the difference. $350.
Not monumental, not something that's going to make or break somebody, So I think the 2%, I think everyone's going to be you know, capable of making these
$350
payments.
per month more on your mortgage payment.
Last year than this year for that mortgage amount, right?
So that's
Now,
good because how much more are we paying for everything else that we're spending money on right now? Are we paying less overall?
Yeah, for sure.
whole
Transit, like, you know, doing our taxes right now. I'm looking at how many kilometers I drove, how many.
So, but we're
You know, the
spending
gas.
more on like food and clothing and that kind of stuff, but we're spending less overall money.
More on food and
So-
clothing. My clothing budget was zero last year. I mean,
Didn't you
you know,
need like
you're always wondering
winter
about what
clothes?
shirt you're gonna wear and what suit you're gonna buy and all that stuff. And last year, I'm like, you know,
I bought a
I'm
good
okay
pair of
with what I
jogging
got.
pants, and I got 3 colors, right? So that like, blue, gray, and black. And that's all I
I
wore
have
all
8
last
white shirts. That's all I need.
So
So stress test now, okay? So
Mhm.
the payment, let's just say today, 700K, payments 2927. Qualifying stress test payment. So I said we have to qualify at 4.74. So the payment you have to qualify at is $3,968. So $1,040 per month more you have to qualify for
You
on
have
a
to
mortgage
qualify
payment
at.
than
So
the
you can
actual mortgage
tolerate
payment.
an increase in $1,000 a month payment and still be within the ratio,
whoa.
right?
Yeah.
So,
So
but
that's
here's my other point though. Here's 5 years on a $700,000 mortgage. I don't know if you can tell me the exact number. 25-year ammo, Mike. How much did my principal go down?
okay. So starting at 7
Yeah.
at 2.89, your
Yeah.
ending balance after 5 years is 597,052. Okay.
Okay, so $110,000, something like that. 100.
Yeah.
Is it 590? 590.
Yeah. 597. So you've
Okay, so
gone
100
down
grand.
103,000 at 2.89.
So now I got a
okay?
$600,000 mortgage. If my circumstances have changed financially, whatever it is, instead of doing 20-year amortization,
Oh,
I can
kick
go
it
back up to 25-year.
Yep. Yep.
And now my payment's going to be at 4%. And now my payment's going to be $1,000 less, whatever it is, right?
Yeah. And then at 1.89, you're not going to owe 597, you're going to owe 585. Right?
So that's the difference.
So
That 1% interest, you pay
the
off more.
1% interest, not only are you paying $350 less per month, but you're also paying 12,000 more off the principal. Right?
Is that the compounding? Why does that work like that?
Well, because you know when the interest rate's lower, less of the payment goes towards the interest. Sorry, so that's why you have more of it is geared towards principal. So and then to reverse it out at 4.74, you'd owe 617,000 at the end of the term.
Mm.
So that swing is 15 plus 16. You're at 31K more you owe in 5 years.
You paid off $31,000
Yeah.
more because of the difference in interest rates.
Yeah.
Okay.
So total payments that you would make, total interest would be 155,000
It's a lot.
at 4.74 and 700,000.
But you're in the house of your dreams, right? So this is what all these decisions people are making right now. Numbers are great. I know, I get that, you know, interest rates are great, and getting that 1.3 interest rate sounds really fantastic. But honestly, what's the most important thing about when you're moving? It's about being happy. It's about being with your family. It's about being in the right schools. It's about having a commute time that you're comfortable with. Like, isn't that why we're into housing? Why is everyone using their house as some investment vehicle that they're gonna, retire
Because
off
they
of and
don't
stuff
make
like that?
enough money at their job.
Well, it doesn't make sense to do that.
No, but
because
salaries
you're not gonna
aren't.
be happy.
No, but
in
salaries
the
don't
end of the
keep
day.
up with cost of living and ability to have home ownership, right? So it's that people are making up for it with all this cheap free money and the second income. That's why all the refinance, right?
Yeah, I get it.
But
But that should be the basis of your decision, right? Like moving up to Barrie or, going somewhere that you think is, going to be cheaper and that you're going to be saving all this money and all that kind of stuff. But you're on in the middle of winter, you got a 2-hour commute each way because you got to go back to the office now twice a week. Doesn't sound like that's a really enjoyable experience.
Well, you know what though? That might be like, okay, let's say you call to get a pre-approval and they say you're good for 530, 530K as a mortgage purchase price. So I'm making up a scenario, right?
Yeah.
Maybe the moving to Barrie or, one of these other places outside the GTA, maybe that's all that they qualify for. And so it's like, do I want to either A, not own a home, or B, do I move to that property, pay down some principal, build some equity, and then fly back into the Toronto? Maybe I'm just thinking,
Every major city is the same thing. People, the biggest cities in the world, people need to live in high rises. It's
yeah,
a necessity. There's no options. You don't just
yeah,
say, well, I'm going to buy a house and leave the city because it takes 2 hours to get back for your job. You say,
yeah,
I can't afford a house. They're millions of dollars. I'm going to go into a building and I'm going to find a 2 bedroom, a 3 bedroom, however many kids I got, and I'm going to make
yeah,
it work. Like
yeah,
I
for
think there's
sure.
a little bit of privilege in the Canadian real estate buyers mindset that they need to let go of. Otherwise, it's going to cost them in the end. Like it really will. Like I don't think people understand
Yeah,
that the sacrifices that they're making to have a house can be detrimental to their overall success in their life. Like it's clearly documented in a lot of scenarios.
yeah,
But
for
right
sure.
now, it's very emotional. So
And what, not mean to completely change gears here, but when you said
do it.
high
Do it.
rises, what's
We
going
love
on
it.
with the Toronto condo market?
We love it. We love changing directions. I
Yeah.
did
So like,
multiple offers
what's
this
going
weekend.
on there? I
Four
can't
offers,
keep up. Like,
30,000 over asking, downtown Toronto condo.
say that again.
Booming.
Sorry.
4 offers, 30,000 over asking, downtown Toronto condo. It sold for 508 with no parking in January. I've been telling everybody on the show people are going to undersell their condos because of the market change. So I told my guy he's got parking, identical unit, nice little 490 square foot, 1 bedroom, right? And I said, listed at a good price that we know is on the higher side because you've got parking and locker, and we'll have an offer date. And sure enough,
Yeah.
not only did we list it for $92,000 more than the last sale, which is more than what a parking spot would cost, but we got $30,000 over asking. So we sold for $122,000 more than the last sale in January.
That's an expensive parking spot, right?
Well, that's what I mean. It's not just the parking; it's market appreciation.
No, I know.
It's bringing the right buyer.
I know.
But there are $100,000 parking spots, just not in that building.
Yeah, it's all relative. But listen, my friend told me about a launch they did in Hamilton this week, and they got 3,000 worksheets for 300 units in 2 days. Like they have platinum. Remember, we learned about platinum level. They got these platinum level brokers who were given allocations that everybody oversold the building.
Yeah,
people sold units that they couldn't fulfill.
Yeah, if you got 20 worksheets and only one of them got filled, you're probably not as platinum as you thought.
No, in Hamilton. But I mean, listen, if people are buying into buildings that are, 14, 16, 20 stories in Hamilton, they're definitely going back to those high rises here in Toronto because at some point, everybody likes to be close to the flame, right? There's something about the flame. There's something about the flame that makes everybody want to live in the city, right?
Exciting in the city. Yeah.
Eventually, these restaurants will open up, and there'll be bands playing and people drunk in the streets.
Yeah, people. Yep. We'll be in elevators that are shoulder to shoulder again, going.
Yeah. With no mask.
That's
right.
Yeah, that's normal. We're gonna get back to that eventually, right? So, I'm very optimistic about the condo market.
Yeah, the condo market is bananas all across the board. We're seeing all kinds of stuff this week in the news about construction industry pumping out more. 18 houses for every one person that they bring in through immigration at the moment, which I don't even know why that's a thing to focus on because most of those houses that are being built, if not all of them, were sold, I don't know, 2 years ago. At least in a house, right?
That's like a bearish mindset, right? Like they're just trying to figure out like how to make this.
If I take this
to sound like an oversupply.
If I take this metric and this one and I divide them by each other, whoa, it's negative. Let's run with this. And that's what they do. But we have again, construction industry fears a skilled trade shortage, right? So we already have a shortage. We have other articles talking about delays in construction in Toronto right now because of supply chain shortage, labor shortage. So we fear a further skilled trade shortage. We're already in a shortage. Toronto's exploding home prices. Like everything is excessive exuberance. Like everything is looking like it's
don't have enough places for people to live.
We don't have enough, and we cannot satiate this market. So
can't keep up.
What the hell is going to
sitting in the
happen
berry.
this year? This year, what is going to happen in Durham, right? What's going to happen in Barrie? What's going to happen in Hamilton? And obviously, whatever happens there gets magnified in Toronto, doesn't it?
No. The like we talked about this on
No,
the show. No.
no.
There's an evening out. This was the Toronto housing market, and this was the 905, right? There's a gap. And now the gaps are gone like this because there's been the urban sprawl. The difference between
We're
a house in
back to
Peterborough
urban
and a house in
sprawl.
Scarborough has never been so close. The difference between a house in Barrie and a house in North York has never been so close. Yes, it costs more still to be in the city, but there's been a lot of money that's left the Toronto market to go into these other areas, and that's why they've gone up so much. I mean, the prices of a house in
New
Oshawa.
trends. So we are
It's
seeing
crazy.
new trends forming or old trends reforming, depending on your
It is
perspective.
what it is. They're just the perception is it's cheaper to move out of the city, so the people are leaving. The perception is that Toronto's expensive, so less people are going to start their search there than maybe a typical year, or maybe the necessity to be in Toronto is not as high, so people are going to want to, look elsewhere, right? Because they think, oh, it's congested, it's dangerous, it's
But we've seen this
whatever.
before, right? We've seen this before. This has happened here before. And what's going to happen? It's like a wave. It'll like come back and it'll go back. It's like being in the wave pool.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we also
Yeah.
see stuff just came out today. Rent prices for retail stores just dropped by more than 13% in Toronto. That's a factor, right? Well,
Prices were too big anyways.
the rent
It has all
prices
that
were
room in
too
there.
high.
Yeah,
This is on retail. So, I mean, retail's going to get hit pretty hard.
absolutely. National sports closing. Like, yeah, you're selling
Profitable,
$10
too.
t-shirts in
Profitable.
freaking 120,000 square foot warehouse. Like, rethink this, right?
Yeah.
Rethink this.
A lot of things
Yeah.
are going to get rethunk, right?
Yeah.
Floor prints are going to shrink.
Yeah.
Mortgages.
It's an interesting follow with everything, right? Just everything that's going on right now. You can look at so many different factors and wonder what influences what. Like with the retail stuff, how many, like if you've got a store downtown, right, the bottom of an office building that's 40 stories high, 50, 60 stories high, nobody's working in there, right? Like, so they have to drop. Like there's nobody,
Mhm.
But-
you got to work with the tenant, I think, in that case, right? Like,
Yeah. So as a landlord, you mean, how can
the
you charge
landlord
more
has to work
rent?
with the tenant,
when-
right? Like it's like,
What?
I got nobody coming through, I'm going to shut down.
Yeah,
or,
but who
you
the
know,
hell is still like, I'm going to hang on until this thing's over?
Oh,
Who's
well,
still hanging on? What the hell's wrong with you? Why are you
Yeah.
hanging on? Come on the show. I want to know why you're still hanging on. What the hell could have been so good to hang on through this still?
Well, I think that they just, sometimes knowing that the end is there is the hardest thing, right? Like
Mhm.
or admitting it, right? Sometimes when you
Reality.
say things or when you do an action, it becomes the reality, and people are scared of that, if that makes sense.
But it's February. Like, this is almost a year of being shut down, opened up, wanting to be opened up, getting opened up, shutting down. Like, how? I don't understand how much money somebody wants to continually lose to stay open in this. So, but what's going to
Depends on
happen?
your position.
You're going to,
Some people
yeah.
people who are nearing retirement, I'm talking to, are shutting down. They were like, "Look, I was ready to retire. I was just, kind of doing my
Get out, yeah.
routine every single
So, but what?
day that I woke up. So now it's time to sell the business. It's time to find someone to take it over. It's time to just shut it down, right?"
Right. So, well, yeah, I mean, news like this, 13% down in retail. I mean, a lot of the retail on the nice main streets of Toronto are owned by, small mom and pop people that just bought a slice of Toronto whenever they could, right? Some of them even live upstairs probably and run a store downstairs. So what's going to happen if they were like on the cusp, if I should sell this thing, I'm getting old, I should get out. They're going to jump, like inventory is going to soar now, isn't it? Didn't prices just go down considerably if rents are down that high, that much? Like, because most of them, most of them are being looked at on some kind of a cap rate, not as a development site, right?
Yeah.
So, like,
definitely.
if your rent just went down 13+%, then the value of your property just went down from
Is
some
there a
point in
correlation
time.
between that is commercial, because commercial real estate's still really strong, would it not be?
Well, but
on the
retail is
use.
not, right? Retail
Depends-
is
yeah, it depends on
fucking
the use.
hammered.
Automotive is not doing great. right? These
Yeah.
automotive places that are like the automotive businesses. Every mechanic shop is doing really poorly right now because no one's driving. They used to
Yeah.
be doing, I don't know, 1,000
Yeah.
customers a year or whatever it was, and they're down probably 30-40%, right?
Wow.
With cars on the road. So if that's your tenant, then that's where you're going to have issues, right? If you got a food court, right, in the mall,
Oh my God.
Food court, death.
right?
Death. If you're
See you later.
a mall in general, like how are
Yeah,
you surviving through this as a mall?
yeah,
Especially
yeah,
these big expensive ones like Yorkdale. Nobody able to go to Yorkdale. Like
yeah.
how many of
Something's
those
going on.
like even what's it called over here at Young and Steeles? I forget what they call it now. Is it called Centerpoint? Centerpoint has the lowest end stores to begin with. How in the world are they not skipping out on their rent when
Right?
nobody's allowed in the mall for the last year?
Yeah.
Like those places were on the fringe to begin with. You know, it's funny. I drive up and down Yonge Street with my family wondering, how is that store in business? Like who goes and shops there? And
So I had a client with some commercial rent assistance needs um, recently, and it's been a struggle. So it's not as easy as the government just gives you the money and you get your 90% because you're shut down and you're in that industry, or 65% if you're open but you've got significant business losses, right? Like you got to have everything in order, right? So there's some people who are missing out on that action, but definitely all those retail people, if they're organized and have been doing their accounting properly and everything like that, in the malls they're getting 90% of their rent covered. That's what the program is.
Wow.
yeah, but how
Yeah.
much of their revenue did they lose?
Well,
Who the
no,
hell
that's
can
why that's
shop
why
in a
they're going to the
mall?
banks and refinancing or selling or whatever. Like that's the fear right now, is how long can
Private.
they last with
There's your answer to
income?
private, right?
Yeah, or
That's
going to
why
private.
the private lenders are doing so well.
They're getting into business. There you go.
It's worth the risk.
So, did we solve any of the world's problems on this show today, or no?
I think
We
all of
kind of
them. Pretty
are
sure.
we back to square one, or are we?
Yeah. And I hope to be the first person to come back 3 times. That would be
Third
that would
time,
be
yeah. You're in. That's it.
You will
we
go.
need mortgage updates. It seems like right now with the market, there's a healthy mortgage market for people to be able to still get money. I know it's tougher and everything else like that, but it
Yeah.
seems like funds are accessible still. And I think we've talked about this before, is when markets crash, it's because the government has made those funds less accessible, and that it's very tough to be able to get financing and qualify. I think people really are honed in on what it's going to take, and I think
Yeah.
that's helpful. That's what's keeping the market afloat.
I think it's
Yeah,
really
I agree.
interesting to see the cycle that's going on here, where we have TK who's like dirty boots in the ground all day with the buyers and the sellers, you know, seeing the market about to start getting on fire, just tearing up, going crazy, and then start to show a little bit more inventory than there was last week. Where on your end, I guess you would lag him a little bit anyways, right? Where you're, you know, from your perspective, you got money coming from everywhere. People are needing, you know, there's not enough inventory. You have 2 clients on the same house. Neither one of them gets it. You know, like, and then all the news is talking about excessive exuberance. I wonder if this will actually kind of follow an arc even further towards what TK is saying, where there's going to be, you know, next week's news is going to be there's a lot more inventory. And if we talk to Mike, it's going to be like, yeah, you know, more people are getting the houses that they're bidding on right now. I wonder if that's an actual cycle.
There's two different
Yeah.
markets at work too, right? So Mike and I are kind of just like a little bit further away. He works at a lot of the GTA, but some of those properties are probably outside the GTA, so that's something that's a factor. But definitely what I'm seeing in the secondary markets is what we were seeing all year, like from January to, beginning of February here in the GTA. So I think that's part of it, right? So you got
And
to
you,
remember
you
that.
think I was one of my friends said to me when there was an offer, he had a listing and there was like 24 offers or something. And he said the crazy thing is there's still 23 people looking for that exact same property, right? Like, so until everybody's needs get fixed, you're going to have an inventory shortage in a lot of areas, right? Like in GTA, if there's more listings coming out, that's going to solve that. But, you know, in Durham, I mean, I can click on my realtor.ca app and, you know, do a little circle around my house of a kilometer and there's maybe 1 listing, maybe 2. Like it's until there's more listings that hit the market all across Ontario, it's going to be this, right? So we need more listings. And why aren't people listing? Are they scared of like they don't want people coming through with COVID? Is it the pandemic? They think it's going to keep going up and it's not time yet. Like, I don't know. Right? Everyone's different, so there's no right answer to that. But once there's more listings, that'll change a lot.
I think before we get anywhere close to an actual balanced market where we can satiate the demand with supply, they're going to open up those immigration gates, and we will have never seen a market like we're about to see next. But then at some point, when they let all these people in and things are going good, they're gonna hike those rates to people's thresholds and see what happens. It seems more like a new money experiment than anything else. And we're a good enough sample size in Canada of 35, 38 million versus, trying something like this on a 300 million person country. Because it's going to be painful, I got to think. But it seems like that
time will tell.
They keep hinting towards it.
You heard it here first, folks.
Yes. First for the third time.
On the rise.
And I will be right momentarily for a bit. Sometimes.
Well, thanks for joining us for the second time, Mike.
Oh, no problem, guys. Thanks. It's good to see you guys.
We appreciate it. We know that you're a busy guy, but we got to get the listeners and the viewers the mortgage market update. It's just as important as our real estate update, and it seems like things are still good. The fear of rates rising wildly out of control, that's overstated.
Yeah, let's pretend rates go back up to that 2.74.
Yeah,
it is what it is, right? Like now, if they go to 5, like I said, like I showed you that example at 4.74, that's a big deal, right?
But if they go up to 2.74, you have to qualify at like 6.74.
No,
right?
no. If they go, we're still. You have to qualify it at the posted rate still. So which is the 4.74 anyway.
I love how I said that in the beginning because I never really thought about that either. Is everyone's been qualifying for the same amount of money since the beginning of this whole entire thing. So rates being low and everyone's saying, well, rates are low. Well, that really isn't infusing as much money as we think it does. It gives people the confidence to go and pay less. So therefore they're, but it's not actually giving them buying power.
No.
Yeah.
No. It's a funny thing, Because it's a common thing. I guess with rates so low, I mean, that's why everyone's buying all these crazy. Well, maybe
that's why everybody's going farther away.
Yeah. Maybe their personal budget, they're looking and they're like, hey, now we can afford more. So if they're buying for, like some people will come to me and I say, hey, you qualified for, this much. And they say, well, that's great. I want to buy for 200,000 less than that. Right. Maybe rates kicking in lower have made them go, you know what? Why not? I'm going to buy for the full, I don't know, but
because it's cheaper. Yeah. Could be.
Yeah.
Good. Well, thanks, Mike. We'll pick it up again with you in a few months.
You bet.
See where we stand in the mortgage market update with Mike.
Stay safe, everybody.
Shameless plug, Mike. Put your info out there.
Yeah, so Core Mortgage, CORE mortgage.ca, and always you can go on there. All my info's on there. My phone number. I always tell people, feel free, look up my info. You can call me anytime just to chat or have any questions. I'm always here. So thank you.
Awesome. Appreciate it.
Go to the description below for links to
What about liking and subscribing our video?
Yes,
Daryl?
It's too late for that, TK.
Too late for that.
It's too late for that. We'll have to insert that somewhere else.
Yeah, next show.
Through the magic of editing, please subscribe earlier in the show. Thank you.
Sweet.
All right. Thanks, Mike.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Yeah. Thanks for doing it, Mike. I know.
Yeah, man. No problem. My pleasure.
Baseball stuff today?
No. I got baseball in I think 3 more hours. So yeah.
Okay.
We were like down, locked out, right? Now it's open back up.
Daryl's a big baseball guy too. Mike's my baseball friend, and actually you two are both my baseball friends because no one else really likes baseball anymore.
My son's supposed to be at baseball like now, but we decided we would wait till his next turn in the rotation.
Oh, is he? So are you guys? Who are you? Are you in York or are you?
He plays for Richmond Hill. So we live in Toronto. We're on lockdown, but their facility is in Concord.
Yeah, nice.
So what is it? Like batting practice? What is it?
I don't know. 10 people at a time indoors, hitting, throwing balls to each other. Nothing can spread through a ball, right?
No. Antibacterial.
That's the
When
only
you
thing
throw
that
I
it
think the
doesn't stick
virus
to.
flies off of it.
That's the only thing that's foolproof in this whole schlemiel. All
Well,
right.
But Mike, that's what your guys doing too. I guess it would be Ryland, imagine, right?
Yeah, so well, both actually. So yesterday
Both?
Nolan had it, and so Nolan's he's playing now double A ball. So
And
yeah,
so they're doing what? They're just inside a facility throwing a ball around.
yeah.
Like,
So same thing, right? Like half
Yeah.
the team. So the funny thing is generally like I coach both of them. I'm one of the coaches. So you have a 2-hour practice. You cut the team in half. 1 hour with 6 kids, and then 1 hour with 6 or 7, depending on the team, right?
Yeah.
Like one team is 13, one 12. And then yeah, basically my Amanda, my wife, will come pick them up after or drop them off, and then I got to stay and coach the whole time, right? But yeah, so it's all right.
I'd be
It's
like,
good to
forget
see
you
them.
kids. My son's not in this group. You guys just coach yourself.
I know, right?
You're on your own.
But I don't mind it. It's good. Like they've gone. It was funny. My older one yesterday is like, Dad, really? Like I've bet baseball 5 times this week. I'm like, dude, you just sat for 3 months and did nothing. So don't complain, right? Like they get so into Fortnite and stuff like that, where it's like, oh, now I got to do something active. What's
Oh
going
my
on,
God.
you
To
know?
get
Yeah,
my son to
that's
go
funny.
outside is like painful.
I know, right? So that's why I got to break the trend. I'm like, so we had pitching yesterday, my older one, and then the other one had hitting yesterday, and then the practice today, practice tomorrow, practice Wednesday, practice Thursday, practice Saturday. Like,
Holy
it's
fuck.
crazy. 5 times a week now for my older guy. So
Amazing.
yeah,
That's a nice
yeah.
shift.
Yeah,
You
it's
get back
good.
into
I'm
routines and stuff like that. I can't wait
happy to
for
do it. Yeah, for sure.
things to start going. My guy started swimming again, and jiu-jitsu will go back, open in the next couple weeks probably. So
Oh, for sure.
going every class that's available, he's there.
Oh, that's it, right? Like that's what I say. And also, you want to see your friends because the only way you're going to see them is if you have like sports with them, right? Like outside of school, right? Because there's no, I'm not dropping you off at your buddy's house to hang out inside. I don't know where they've been, what they've been doing, and just so yeah.
Or maybe
I
they
see
don't
them at
want us
baseball.
there.
Yeah.
Right? The ones
So,
they're like, I don't know, Butler household. Can't have those
yeah.
kids over.
That guy's been
Yeah,
everywhere.
I don't know where TK's been.
I don't know where I've been.
But
All
he's
right,
got
well,
a
I'm gonna
comfortable
go out there
looking
and sell some
beard.
houses
Guys.
today.
Yeah. Take it easy, everybody.
Adios.
Thanks, Mike.
All
Good
right,
luck.
We'll chat with you later.
Talk to
You
you
bet.
later.
Talk soon.